Hey, good morning. Adam here, aka Captain. I'll let you know right away. I'm a little bit under the weather. So if you hear some sniffles and sneezes and the voice is not quite right, that is why. Today, we unfortunately have negative news, but at the same time, when people try to take advantage of you or are shady, they need to be called out. And unfortunately, social media is the way to get the word out so that other people don't fall for this or deal with this. Um, I will say a lot of this right from the jump is my fault. Dealing with someone that you've never done or met in person before and shelling out cash first um, is not the best way to do business for someone as experienced as me. I kind of fell for his spiel. And at the same time, I should know better. I don't do that for any of my customers. What he was selling, it just sounded too good. He has a large following, but let's get into it. So Saturday, he had reached out to me. I believe his name is Tim, and he called my shop and said, "Hey, I'm looking for F1 Topps Chrome cases. I break them online, and I do well with them, and I buy all the time." And kind of talking himself up and saying that he spends lots of cash, and this is how much he would like to spend, and if I ever came across it, he would, like to buy, and he would like to establish relationships. He made it very clear that he was a big relationship person and that he wanted to do business for a long time to come, which I thought was fine and cool. He also was stating that he was from the York area, which is about an hour from me. Um, so I told him that I didn't know much about F1 and that I didn't have any, but I knew someone that could get Topps products, and I'd give him a call and see what they say. And he said that was great. He would love to hear, and if there was a deal done, he would love to do business in the future. He kept mentioning that, and so that was it. So we spoke for a while. We talked about some sports card shows I had going on, and just general chat. Seemed like a nice guy. A little bit cocky at first, kind of, but he had the backing to show it. It looked like he had a large following. So I don't care. I'd love to do business with anybody. So I called my guy, and he said, "Hey, I happen to have a case right here." He's like, "I can't move it." He's like, "I don't know anyone that does F1. He's like, "Here's a price. I'll give it to you, and you can have it." And I'm like, "Oh." So it was under what he was asking, and we had even talked about it. He's like, "Hey, if you can make a few bucks and I get it at the price that I want, everybody wins." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's great." And my guy's like, "Hey, I'm actually going to be at the show that you're going to be at tomorrow, so you can have it tomorrow." And I'm like, "Man, this is like the easiest deal that's ever come, because my guy that has the Topps is about an hour from me, and I was going to go drive and pick it up, but the next day he was at the show that I was at." So I called the guy back, this Tim guy, and I said, "Hey, my guy's got one case right now, and he'll do it for the price that you want. And I'll make a little bit. You get it at the price that you want." And it was at the lower side of what he wanted. So it was a win-win. And he's like, "Great, I'll take it. Yeah, for sure." All right. I'm like, "How are we going to do this? Like, normally I ship things." He says, "I really don't want it shipped." He's like, "I'd like to meet you in person." And I'm like, "That's kind of cool." I'm like, "All right, this guy really wants to do relationship business." I'm like, "All right, whatever." I'm like, "Here's the show I'll be at. Here's the address. Let me know." He's like, "All right." He's like, "I'll plan to come to the show tomorrow." And I got my phone here for reference, because I don't want to leave anything out or add anything. And so we agreed to the deal. He's like, "I'll definitely take it for that price, and we'll just come to the show tomorrow." I'm like, "Cool." So after we agreed to that, let me see here, about an hour later, he messages me on IG and says, "Hey, do you see that you can get them for this price on DealerNet?" I don't do DealerNet. I know what DealerNet is. I don't do it. So he shows, or he tells me, excuse me, he tells me that, hey, you can get it cheaper than even the price that I was willing to pay. And I was like, well, I don't do dealer net, so no, I can't look at it. And about 2 hours go by, a little less than 2 hours go by. So I'm like, okay, is he now screwing me and going with this other deal? Now, he also said he didn't want the stuff shipped, but he was potentially looking to get it shipped from DealerNet. So I'm like, what's the whole deal with this shipping thing? Like, he doesn't want it shipped. I'm like, I don't get that. He's willing to get it shipped from DealerNet, but he didn't want it shipped from me. Didn't make any sense. So then I message him again. I'm like, hey, man, I give him his out. I'm like, if you want to go with that deal, go with that deal, but just let me know. Like, I think it's shitty if you make a deal with someone and you go with another deal. Even if it's a better deal, we all want to pay lower prices, obviously. But, you know, you're kind of someone talking about how much their word and their relationship and building relationships, you would think they wouldn't even bring that up. But he did. So I gave him his out. I was like, you want to go with that? Go ahead. Just let me know. And I'll tell my guy, like, hey, like, I'm now involving someone else and I have a relationship with them. My relationship with them is more important because I just met this guy. So I don't want to screw him and tell him there's a deal done and then have to back out of it. But I will. So he messages me back and he says, no, you know what? I'll just take it. Same deal. Moving forward. I'm like, great, thanks, I appreciate that. So we agree on that, and I said, we'll see you tomorrow. So 7 o'clock, I message him, and I'm like, hey, man, are you coming to the show, or are we going to meet after the show? A couple hours go by. He says it'll have to be later this week. His wife's grandpa was in the ER with heart issues, and he was home with the baby. So just keep it for me for the week. Now, this is where you get to, all right, someone saying a family member's hurt or, you know, a sensitive situation. You got to go and take them at their word, right? So I'm like, all right, man, sorry to hear that. You still don't want it shipped. He's like, no, I'd rather meet you in person so we can do future business and establish a working relationship. Again, all these messages are here. So if you want to see the full transaction, I'd be happy to release those. I'm like, all right, man, stay in touch. Best of wishes for your family. I was just in the hospital overnight with my daughter. I know how it is. He's saying that it's been terrible. He's 81. It's been 18 hours. I'm like, whoa, that sounds bad. Prayers up, man. He's like, I appreciate you. Thanks for understanding. So, Monday goes by. I don't hear anything. Tuesday goes by. I don't hear anything. Starting to get a little weird feelings. I see that he's very active on his social media platform, House of Breaks. Posting stories, doing breaks, posting videos, online all the time. And I'm like, man, haven't heard from him. He hasn't checked in. I'm like, for me, F1 Topps Chrome, that's probably something that would, for me, be hard to move because my clientele is the three major sports. So even if I put this box at a steal, for me, I just don't have a clientele looking for F1. I did this solely for this guy. So the guy could just pay me. He could use GS and have it shipped to him and not worry about anything. We'll do another face-to-face deal some other time. I'm thinking that's the easiest solution. Like, all right, we keep the business going. You deal what you got to deal with, but you keep your word. Pay for the box. He made it very clear that he's just spending money and it's no big deal. So I'm kind of thinking like, all right, like, I don't want to be insensitive, but I also have my own business I got to run, and I got this only for him. So I message him Wednesday morning, and I'm like, hey, man, I hope there's some positive signs in your recent circumstances. just letting you know, I'm leaving for the weekend. I'll be doing the Raleigh show this weekend in North Carolina. And I really want to have some extra spending money for the weekend. And I fronted this money for you to get this box because you made it seem like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it done. All right. And you haven't paid. And I'm going to be busy next week as I reopen my shop. And let's just get this box shipped to you. You have the box, you pay me, everything's done. And then another time, we can continue on with our business. And I told him all that. He never opens the message all day. But on the same day, he's very active on social media, posting stories, posting content, going live. So I'm like, oh man, this guy's like dodging me now. I'm like, for as many times as he got online, he just didn't read my message. So I'm getting a little weird feeling. So come to today, which is Thursday, I now call him on his phone. After the third ring, I get forwarded. So then I text him. And as soon as I text him, he messages me back. I ask him, I said, hey man, call me as soon as possible. He says, what's up? Which is the clear kind, anytime you ask someone to call you and they reply with a text message, it's always like, I asked you to call me. I also sent him a message on Instagram again to say, hey man, like, I really need to get this done. It may not be big chuck and change to you. I was like, but this type of deal was done specifically for you. I don't have anybody else to move this product to. Like, it was done for you. So he says, he stops texting me and then goes to the Instagram and starts replying to me on there. And he says, I don't have the ability to do it right now with the current circumstances regarding family. And like I said, I didn't want to have it shipped. So his big thing is he doesn't want to have this box shipped. I don't know why. 90% of this is a shipping business. I said, hey man, this is bad business. I said, you shouldn't have asked me to complete a deal and not pay for it. Now, if you don't do this, I'm going to badmouth your brand because it sucks. So then he starts sending me like message by message, like some thing about how I'm rude, a family member passed, he won't be threatened, I'm cold-hearted, and that he never said he wouldn't take the case, and he has a full-time job, so he couldn't answer. $2,700, the cost isn't his concern. My family is. So again, all this is not making sense at all. He doesn't want it shipped. $2,700 is not a big deal to him. It's not the problem. So if it's not the problem, he could pay me, but he doesn't want it shipped. He doesn't want it shipped. That's the big thing. So I message him and I'm like, all right, we're going this way. I'm like, hey man, there's no threats. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. Like, you're saying that the money's not the issue. Your family is, but you've been on Instagram very active the last like 48 hours. You never reached out to me like you said you would. You didn't reply to my messages. You won't call me. You won't answer my phone. You got an excuse for everything. And yeah, he just keeps going that he doesn't have to explain himself and that he has this issue with his father-in-law or grandpa. And he even says here, nobody's ducking you over this small-ass case. Again, very making it clear that money is not the issue, according to him, but yet he doesn't want to pay. Money is not the issue over this case. So the real issue is he just doesn't want to have it shipped. For whatever reason, I don't know. But he was willing to do a deal on DealerNet. So I won't do a deal like this until I meet. So shipping isn't an option. I can't drive an hour into Waynesboro until I deal with my family stuff. If you don't want to listen to that or accept that, then don't. But that's the situation. So I'll let you be the judge. I can only speak for myself. House of Breaks is his name on Instagram. It appears that he was calling up around left and right to get deals, looking to do relationships. This is not how you treat people in relationships. And I don't know. So will I move the case? Probably somewhere. This show will actually probably be a good place to move the case because it's a very large show. I'm sure someone will be looking for F1. I take ownership, and I preach to you guys, don't ever front money for a deal that you don't know. And I went against my own word. So this is what happens. You got to deal with it. This person does have a larger following, at least definitely than me. I believe he has a couple thousand people. As you can see here, within 24 hours, he's been posting things on his story. So clearly, he's been active. He has 53,000 followers. And posting breaks all the time. Live 7 days a week. So, look, these are his stories in the last 24 hours. But yet, he didn't respond to my message, but he's posting on Instagram several times in the last 24 hours. Doesn't make sense. If he did lose a family member, and I told him this, I said, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. But you didn't make it any better by ignoring me. So, what do we learn after this? Me being who I am and how I preach, I'm guilty for going against my own word. I went by his following. I went by his smooth talk about how he spends money and $2,700 is no big deal to him, but he just can't have it shipped. He wants to meet in person and establish this great relationship. And and I said, hey, you can make it right. I'll ship it to you today. Just pay me and everything's good. And he doesn't want to do it. So that is why we have to expose people like that. Don't do what I did whenever you meet someone new. A lot of the times, even if you've dealt with someone, sorry, my voice is going super hoarse. Even if you dealt with someone, it's always better to make sure it's either done in person or you've done deals with them before. I'm guilty of it. I paid up front for a product that may be tough for me to move. And now I might be sitting with a product that who knows when I'll move it. It is what it is. I kind of deserve some of that. But at the same time, we're going to call him out for not following through on what he said. And that's what it is. So if anybody comes across this video and you want to see the full transcripts of the messages, I'd be happy to release them. And stay safe. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. North Carolina this weekend, Raleigh. See you there.